I got Lucas McGill here. Tommy Lepore here from Blue Springs South. Brett Norfleet. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast. Prep Baseball Talk powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Guys, we're full swing. We're out at the ballpark. You're probably seeing different things right now. We're in the middle of the World Series. We're capturing a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button while you're here. We're going to be live streaming. Saturday, we're live streaming 3 games from Field 1 at Bridgeton Municipal Athletic Complex of the 14U. It's bracket play. We're getting right down to it. 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we'll be live streaming out at the Bridgeton Municipal Athletic Complex. A lot of great teams, big field for 14U. So make sure you check us out. Watch some baseball. If you can't get out to the park, we'll be here. So Game7Baseball.com. A lot of fun this week, World Series week. Today on the show, as always, joined by the guru himself, Kevin Moulder. Mr. Moulder, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Brian?
Doing good. Had a great time out with the event at Lindenwood. Some new faces I hadn't seen before, so that was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that. What do you got coming up, Kevin?
You know what? I got some tournament action to cover up. I was just over at Creekside in Kansas City, doing the Super 17. Have a small break from the tournaments through the 4th, and then start back up with the rest of the Supers, the 15s and 16s, and then towards the end of the month we have the feature games. So I've had a great month of June. Got to see a lot of players, a lot of baseball. Started obviously with the Missouri State Championships, which we're going to touch on here in a moment with you, and then had some of our bigger events, top prospect underclass games, the St. Louis top prospect games, some scout days. So it's been a fun month, and kind of recapping that, putting everything together, and going to enjoy the 4th at home, and get back to it with tournament and get out and see some more players.
Absolutely. That Super 17, there was some dudes out there, wasn't there?
Wow. Yes, loaded. Really good event. So that's a fun, a fun weekend, and I'm there kind of as an observer and a microphone just to kind of echo and broadcast some guys doing good things. A lot of college coaches, fun to catch up with them and pass some names on, et cetera. So fun past couple days over there at Creekside in Kansas City, and get to do that again a couple more times this summer with some of the younger guys too. And the younger guys are fun because a lot of times I don't know them, or haven't seen them play in the game. There's more unknowns with the younger guys. The older guys kind of know who they are. I've seen them. Now it is fun. You do see some guys take some big jumps, and some guys will catch your eye that way. But the older guys, it's another good look at them before they head into their senior season. The younger guys they're still kind of popping up on the radar, and seem to be bigger changes and more unknowns with those guys.
I think it's interesting. You told me here recently because PBR just invested in Creekside, and I think that's interesting for the simple fact, we always know Lake Point, Atlanta, that East Coast, but I think this is a pretty good position for Missouri kids, Kansas kids, Nebraska, some of those kids that, you maybe not able to get over into that side of it. I know we have a lot of kids come from here and go there, but I think that gives a great opportunity for coaches in the Central Plains to get a good view at these kids, right?
It's great for Midwest baseball. It's good for the players. It's good for the schools. Makes it easy on the colleges. We actually have broken ground on a new facility in Kansas City called Home Field that's going to have 8 all-turf fields. It's going to be about 10 to 12 minutes away from Creekside. So we're going to have 14 turf fields over at Creekside to do some really big tournaments throughout the spring and summer. So it's going to be very advantageous for Midwest baseball.
That's exciting. That's pretty cool. Let's talk about this, Kevin. We finished up high school. I know we're a few weeks removed from this, but we've been going like, house of fire since then. But I want to come back to the All-State Class 5 and 6 and talk about, point out some of these kids. First of all, we're going to start with the Class 5. We're going to name off these names, and some of these names you're going to know, some of you might not know, folks, because we have in the first team, Connor Hankard from Zumwalt South, just a junior. Grant Trentman had a great year at Washington, really took that team a long way, lost in the district finals, but a really good team there. Mason Shermer, the sophomore at Festus, first team. Jack Noby, saw him at the state championship, St. Francis Borgia. You have 2 juniors and a sophomore on this first team list. That's impressive.
Yeah, and what an impressive list that is to make that first team. That is a who's who right there, and some big time dudes. Kind of highlight Jack Noby. He could easily be, you could put him a couple different spots because he could have made it, I'm sure, as a first team hitter. Now he plays a couple different positions, infield, and but as a bat, he could absolutely make it. But man, Borgia kind of rode him this year in a positive way, and he kind of carried them and turned in some great big time performances down the stretch throughout the postseason. Young man heading to Xavier University. Actually, just saw him again at the Super 17 over at Creekside, and wow, that's a big time talent. Junior, he's going to have one more year in high school baseball with us. He's a guy that gets into the low 90s and can pitch there. He's a guy that kind of hangs out 89, 91 or 2 and can touch a little better, good athlete, and that's going to be a fun one to watch heading into next year. He's kind of right on that borderline where he could get onto some draft boards, and if he takes that next step, he could be a guy that we're talking about for professional baseball even next year out of high school. So it's one to keep an eye on. And obviously Hankey, Trentman, and then Shermer, a sophomore on the list. Wow. Led Festus helped lead Festus to the state championship. Young man committed to Missouri. So really impressive list of pitchers right there from the 5A.
Second team was Kaylor Darnell out of Webb City, senior. Junior Drew Wedgeworth out of Glendale. Junior Spencer Mellencamp out of Camdenton. And another sophomore, Eli Hellberg from Kearney. And then on the honorable mention side, you had the senior Jacob Ross out of Belton. Junior Caden Carroll, St. Francis Borgia. So the 1-2 punch will be back next year for Francis Borgia. Good luck with that, boys. The senior Andrew Hedgecorth from Smithville, and the senior Chris Massey out of Willard. So that rounds out the pitchers for Class 5. The catchers, I couldn't help it. I got to do this, and I don't mean nothing bad, but what better name for a catcher than Tank Sims, right? Out of West Plains, first team. Right, Tank Sims. You just got a tank behind the plate. Yeah, baby. The junior Jack Hellberg out of Kearney, senior Wyatt Brockman out of Marshfield, and those are all kids that that's the west side of the state. You had Tyler Bizzle, the senior from Festus. I'm not very familiar with these guys. I'm sure, Kevin, there's a couple of these that you're probably not as familiar with as well, being from on that west side of the state. But congrats is there anybody there that stands out to you?
Yeah, they all do, and I'm familiar with all of them.
Okay. I should have
Bizzle
kept my mouth shut.
The starting catcher for the state championship Festus team. I'll highlight Tank Sims since you brought his name up in our apparently leading the bandwagon, and rightfully so. He's a heck of a talent. Signed with SEMO. Actually, just had a workout with him about 2 weeks ago. Despite the name Tank, the athletic body profile wouldn't match the first name. He's more of a kind of a leaner, athletic catcher, 6'2"-ish, but a left-handed bat with some major juice. So he's going to be a strong-armed catcher. He's going to be a fun one to watch at SEMO and obviously next year. And first thing I'm noticing with these all-state selections is we got a lot of young players, a lot of young talent returning, it appears.
Right. Tank Sims and Jack Helberg, both juniors down below in the second team, Connor Mendel. And we both know I love his arm. I think his bat, he needs work. I think he needs a little more work with his bat. He hits well, but Sean Hunt out of Webb City, another junior. Let me ask you this. I think it's interesting. You're talking about Tank Sims signed to SEMO, Brooks Kettering out of Springfield, out of Glendale and Springfield, SEMO. Seeing some pretty good talent head over to Southeast Missouri State. Or no, Southeast Missouri University.
Southeast Missouri State.
Okay,
yeah. Southeast Missouri. Yeah. SEMO's always had a good collection of talent. They do a good job of getting in-state guys in particular, and they've had a number of guys make the big leagues, in recent years. So talented team. They've won, been to numerous regionals over the past couple of years. So not shocking at all. And they do a very good job of getting guys like a Tank Sims that might not be, from a huge metropolis area, but they'll go out and get some guys. So they got another good one with Tank Sims.
Identifying talent in maybe not the most populous place. I love that.
Exactly.
Aren't they Ohio Valley Conference?
They are. Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay. So, and Justin Sullins Jr., Capital City senior, rounds out the second team catcher. Sorry about that. I should have done that. Infielders, we have a gaggle of names here. And just at the first team, just at the start, there was 4 seniors and 1 junior. Of course, the junior Hayden Bates from Festus, state champions. Cam Durnan, Camdenton, Cale Conway, Kearney, Brooks Kettering, who we talked about, Glendale, and Sam Pauley, Washington. That's a good infield.
Wow. Yes, that is a stout group. You really can't go wrong with any of those guys. Cam Durnan with the Lakers, big physical bat. Hayden Bates had a heck of a run down there, leading Festus to the state championship. I'm going to highlight Brooks Kettering, though, just because he's a Springfield kid at Glendale. He is your consummate just ball player type guy. Heading to SEMO, kind of a do-everything type guy. Doesn't necessarily do anything like great, but does everything good type guy. And just a great ball player. Can get up on the mound, pitch as well, but was a key cog for that Glendale team. Just a hard-nosed, scrappy player, and he's going to be an exciting one to watch at Southeast Missouri.
On the infield, second team, 4 seniors, a junior, Tanner McPherson, St. Francis Borgia, Jackson Rovig, Marshfield, Toby Goodwin, St. Charles, Cy Darnell out of Webb City, and Manny Lithicum from Kearney. On the honorable mention there, we have Cannon Hibbs. We've talked about him, big bat there at Warrenton. Jackson Tankersley out of Fort Zumwalt South. These are all juniors here in this honorable mention, so we're going to see these guys. Kane Wilson, Hannibal, Peyton Cooper, West Plains, and Cam Stratton. out of Glendale. So some good names there, teams to watch. West Plains, plenty of talent there as well. That's interesting moving forward. So outfield, first team for Class 5. Started off with, there's one senior on this list, and that was Maddox Meyer out of St. Charles. Sophomore Chase Porter out of Kearney. The junior Brett Yarger out of Rolla, and the junior Evan Fullhorst out of Fort Zumwalt South. So congrats to all those guys. Kevin, your thoughts here?
Yeah, another strong list. I'll highlight Chase Porter, the sophomore, the youngster in the group, committed to Louisville University, plus runner, about a 6'4" runner, super toolsy kid. Obviously heading to Louisville, had a very good year. Kind of highlights a really talented outfield group there from the 5A.
Man. Outfielder, second team, you got a couple seniors here. Clayton Kaiser from Willard. Senior Luke Tanner, Rockwood Summit. The sophomore, here we go again with these underclassmen. Festus, going to see Festus again. Brady Nolan, I think they're going to be a team to watch for the next couple years. Senior Riker Edwards out of Smithville. And in honorable mention, you had the junior Ethan Browser out of Pacific. Senior Will Mentz out of Union. The junior Zane Huff, North County. And the junior Rylan Kenslow out of West Plains. There's West Plains again. Goodness. That's going to be a good team next year again. And to finish up, you had the DH and the utility first team. And so, Kevin, go ahead and explain DH and utility here.
So they're looking for multi-position guys oftentimes, and in this case, all of these players pitch. So they're creating an impact positionally and on the mound. I suppose you could also have a guy that maybe plays catcher and shortstop, for example, but typically this is going to fall on, and I brought up Jack Noby as a guy that could have been on this part of the list too, obviously deserving as a pitcher. But wow, Jordan Martin, Sam Wyrick, Kay Durnan, Carter Cox, all those guys are elite on the mound and also elite as positional players. Each one of those guys could have made first or second team as a pitcher and then first or second team at their respective position. So they created a category to highlight the two-way standouts. And these guys make a real impact. And all of the players on the list make an impact, but these are the guys that make a double impact. This is like having two all-state players wrapped up into one because they're doing it on the mound and doing it positionally. So this is an impressive list right here.
Yeah, because to me, I've known the name Kay Durnan because we've talked about the Camden, the brothers there, and Carter Cox is one I've seen. He was hitting in the 2-hole for Zumwalt South all year, getting things done. He hit very well for them. Then going on the mound and he took all the away games as a starter, as a junior here. And there's another going to be a young team. They're bringing back a lot of juniors. I think that team's going to be very difficult to beat. So, woohoo!
All of them returning next year.
Right.
Jordan Martin is one of the top talents in the state. He is our number 1 ranked sophomore in the state of Missouri. Committed to Arkansas. He's going to catch some major draft buzz in the coming years. Sam Wyrick, Elias Catholic, head coach's son, plays as you would expect a head coach's son would. Knows the game, really good arm on the mound, hovers around that 90-mile-per-hour mark. Kay Durnan, a part of the brothers of the Durnan family, and then their dad's the head coach of the Lakers there. I saw Cade up to 93 this weekend over at Creekside. That's a big arm that could catch some draft interest depending on development over the next year. There was some scouts out to see him. And then obviously we know Carter Cox, being a GAC guy, had a great year. The left-hander with a really good breaking ball, and quarterback of the football team. So just a good overall athlete.
Wow. DH Utility second team freshman Carson Adams out of Marshfield. Got a freshman in there, man.
Love it.
Love to see that, right? A sophomore,
yeah.
Carson Durnan.
It's like the Molina brothers.
There you go, right? Out of Camdenton. So, and then the senior Cooper Wilkin out of Willard, and honorable mention the junior Jacob Reynolds from Fort Zumwalt South, and the senior Gage Clounch. I would hope I pronounced that correctly, out of Warrensburg. So, and just an FYI, folks, the player of the year for Class 5 was Cade Durnan. So, as Kevin was saying there, you got this in the utility. That doesn't kind of surprise you there that he was the DH utility. He's kind of the jack of all trades. He's just that type of player, Kevin, and player of the year.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to go to the utility guy, but to me, those guys have a leg up because they are creating impact on all sides of the ball, pitching, defense, hitting. So obviously a deserving honor.
So we opened up in 2019, and basically there was a void in the area. I mean, we saw that there was an opportunity to have a retail store where people could come in and actually touch and feel the tangible object that they're buying.
So we're going to get over into Class 6, and there's names upon names upon names in the Class 6 here. Really talented people. We're going to start pitchers on the first team, of course. Tate McGuire, Liberty North, Kenton Deverman, Fort Zumwalt West, and Bryson Naputi, Francis Howell, and then Peyton Werner, I guess it would be pronounced, out of Lebanon, and the sole junior, John Paul Sauer, out of Jackson. Man, that is a big-time pitching rotation right there.
Yeah, sign me up for that one right there. It's 5 pitchers to go 5-man rotation, and we will be in good shape.
You take that one, you. So can I sign all those guys?
Yes, sir. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you could highlight any one of those guys and talk for a really long time. We'll touch on Tate McGuire since he won the state championship and was our PBR Missouri Player of the Year. Had a huge year. He could have easily also been in the utility first team category. Had a big year offensively, but he's a pitcher. He's going to go to Arkansas and be a pitcher there. He's not going to hit in college. But wow, that he set the tone for that Liberty North team. He won all their big games. It gives you an extra level of comfort when you got one of these type of guys on the mound, knowing you're going to, you only got to get a run or two to get a W with one of those guys out there. But Tate had a huge year. I think he gave up like 2 earned runs all season, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check that, but I'm almost certain it was 2
I think
earned
you're
runs
right. I think you're
on,
right.
on the season. Um, you know, 0.015 ERA on the year. Um,
That's
averaging
ridiculous.
nearly 2 strikeouts an inning. So he carried the mail for that Liberty North team.
Do you have the cheat codes for the MLB show? The show to get a .015 ERA. My goodness, man, that's ridiculous. Oh, so congrats to all those guys. They're great pitchers, great people. So there you go. Pitchers, second team, all 4 seniors. Andrew Agnew out of Liberty North. We saw him pitch in the championship game. Isn't that who we saw there?
Yes,
Kevin?
the left-hander.
Yeah, he pitched very well in that game as well. So senior Ethan Taylor out of Nixa. Senior Trenton Roller out of Blue Springs South. He's a Mizzou commit, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
You're right, yes.
And senior Dane Gray out of Rockbridge. So, and then honorable mention, senior Simon Lindy, Liberty, Kansas City, and the sophomore Brody Earlbeck out of Staley, and the senior Liam Bryan, Blue Springs South. So Blue Springs South is losing some pitching. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. Oof. Man. Catchers, first team, right at the jump there. A couple of juniors that, no offense, but Xander Schmidt, Lafayette, Bo Jonas, Liberty North, and then the 2 seniors, Baden Hackworth out of Jackson, and the senior Cooper Robertson, Fort Zumwalt South. Fort Zumwalt West. Excuse me, Coach Goff. Take your pick.
No coincidence. You have a good catcher, you're going to likely have a good season. And, Lafayette won their district. Jackson was a top 6-7 team in the state all year. Liberty North state champion. Zumwalt West, top 3 or 4 team all year. I love all 4 of these guys. Xander Schmidt was the Future Games MVP. Baden Hackworth heading to St. Louis University. Bo Jonas caught for the state championship team and is committed to OU. I'll highlight Cooper Robertson. Maybe the guy that's maybe goes a little overshadowed on this list, but he is a fun guy, a fun player to watch. Super high energy. He's what you would call a glue guy. Last year played a lot of third base. This year was behind the plate. I really like that position for him moving forward into college. I think that suits him well. He has a natural leadership about him on the field and presence, calming influence on the pitchers. Had a good year at the plate, hit third, and then also led off at the end of the year. They switched him and Sissom. So he was one of the main cogs for that very, very good Zumwalt West team. And, I think this is not I think this is a fair statement. Zumwalt West maybe wasn't as talented as some of the other top 5 ranked teams in terms of guys moving on and whatnot. I think a huge reason for their success was Cooper Robinson, the leadership that he provided behind the plate and also hitting either at the top or in the middle of the lineup.
There you go. That's good stuff right there, guys. Catcher, second team. We had just the one name, Junior Wyatt Woods out of Republic. So we're going to get to the infielders, and again, another gaggle of names that you could just go anywhere and play baseball. There are some names on this list. It's amazing. And that's why I'm saying, when I said this to you, Kevin, at the top of the show, talking about Creekside and the advantage of having that facility in the central part of the country where this is at. You're going to see these guys because Nazan Zanatello, just real quick, I saw a report on him, kind of caught this. I don't watch a lot of that because I just don't have time to go get into everything, especially right now. But at the draft combine, they were talking about this kid big time at the draft combine.
So you look at this first team list, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. This is the deepest list or group that we have on this. This is ridiculous. You got Addison Smith going to Oklahoma State. Pure glove guy, can really, really pick it. Best defender in the state, hands down. He is a plus defender. He can go get it. Silky smooth actions, good arm. He is special defensively on the infield. Also switch hits and does a nice job with the bat. You got Grant Hollister, Blue Springs South. That kid can flat hit. He just flipped his commitment from Michigan to Indiana. He had a coaching change there a year ago, so I think that probably has something to do with it. But Grant, one of the big bats in the state. You got Brett Norfleet. I don't probably need to talk too much about him. People should know that name. One of the big power bats in the state. Also, heading to Mizzou to play tight end. Had a great senior season at Howell. Trey Schneider, the junior shortstop for the state champion team. A top 60 player in the country, heading to Tennessee, committed to Tennessee. Titus Sissel, Francis Howell shortstop, is really gaining some steam right now. He's taken a jump. He's one of our young dynamic players in the state. Fun player to watch. And then Nazan Zanatello is going to be the first player out of Missouri drafted, most likely, unless one of our injured pitchers gets taken ahead of him. But Nazan should be conservatively, I will say he will be a top 80 pick in the draft. I don't want to set anyone up for disappointment, so I will stick with that. I will say he will be a top 80 pick or so in this year's draft here in a couple weeks. And it wouldn't shock me to see his name called somewhere in the 40s either, but we'll see how that plays out. Special athlete and also a great kid. And he's a fun player to watch, brings energy, kind of makes others around him better and plays the game the right way.
As you bring up Nazan Zanatello, the one thing when I've shook hands with the kid, said hello to him. I don't know him, seen him play. But when you talk to people that know him, the first thing they say out of their mouth is great kid, high IQ, just a outstanding young man. And they talk about him as a person before they even get to the baseball. Right?
Yeah, he has an infectious personality, kind of just makes you smile, and would be a good guy to have in the clubhouse locker room because he's going to have the mood right.
And that's where I think those are kids that I think they got. It's tough in the major league. It's tough in the professional ranks. It is, man.
And touching on the baseball stuff, if there is a 5-tool player in the state, it's Nazan. He can really run. He can throw. He can hit. He has some juice in the bat. He can hit the ball out of the park. I think in pro ball he's going to be a guy that, is a gap-to-gap guy that can hit the ball out of the park. And then the fielding, he's so athletic. Something is going to work out. And I think teams will see it differently. Some teams might leave him at shortstop. Some might want to move him over to third. Some might put him in center field. And you look at the Cardinals and what they have going on with like Brendan Donovan and Tommy Edman. You could easily see Nazan filling a role like that just because he's a special athlete. You could see him playing multiple positions, and being like the super utility guy, and I mean that in a complimentary way. Just he isn't pigeonholed to one spot.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Infielders, second team. Some really good players in this second team. Jackson Downing, Liberty North. Ryan Stevens, CBC. Gannon Snyder, Parkway West. Quentin Borders, who was our player of the game against CBC there out of Jackson. And the junior Nathan Spangler, Liberty, Kansas City. That's as good. I mean, there's not.
This isn't a lie. I was going through the PBR Missouri Player of the Year group, and I make a little list of candidates before I release, and Ryan Stevens was in that pool of candidates that wasn't more than 5 or 6 deep. He had that type of year, and I would say any other year he's a first teamer. You look at that list on the first team, and this is a heck of a list for second team Missouri infielders.
And I love, the honorable mention shows you the future. Yes, there are 3 seniors on here. Evan, I guess that would be Vane Hagee out of Kickapoo, the senior Gavin Smith, Blue Springs, and the senior Aiden Johnson at Francis Howell. But 2 sophomores and a freshman, Ty Thompson from Rockbridge, Jackson Aiken, Lee Summit West, and then the freshman Nolan Sissom here at Zumwalt West. Wow. That's going to be fun
Talented
to watch.
group. Sissom's committed to Missouri already. Ty Thompson's committed to Tennessee already, and Jackson Aiken is coming with Team Missouri to the Future Games this summer. So that's a really impressive underclass list.
Wow. We'll be able to talk about those kids more in the future. So,
yeah, we got a couple of years with them.
Outfielders, first team, again, full of underclassmen. This one here, the junior Cole Gibbler, Blue Springs. Sophomore Leo Humbert, Francis Howell. The junior Rylan Mischel from Nixa. The senior Caden Peer, love that kid, CBC. And then the sophomore Cooper Rhodes out of Jackson. Another kind of who's list here, Kevin.
Yeah, all really big-time players. Cole Gibbler is also the ace of that Blue Springs team, left-handed pitcher as well, going to Arkansas, committed to Arkansas. Leo Humbert's probably the top uncommitted player in that sophomore class, is already drawing, major Power 5 interest. Rylan Michelle can really hit for Nixa. He's committed to Crowder. Caden Peer was another player that was on our list for Player of the Year. Set the CBC home run record. Had a heck of a season at CBC, and him and Nazan and Stevens. What a 1-2-3! Not that they hit in that order, but that's a really deep lineup there. And then Cooper Rhodes was kind of a spark plug and did big things for that really good, fun Jackson team this year.
We got it. It's fun because this year we were able to expand. We got to see Jackson play CBC. That was a really fun game to watch. But in that first inning, when we had Bogenpole out there pumping, and he threw a fastball, and it was sitting around 93, and Caden Peer did not have any trouble turning that thing around, did he?
No, Caden's a young man. He's got plenty of ability. He is not short on talent. Some guys can hit some home runs in high school when it's 83, 84, 85. That's a whole different animal to be able to turn a 90-plus mile per hour fastball around.
And he did, and his swing just looked, it was easy. My goodness.
It's smooth.
Yeah. So I really liked it. You see certain things, you go, wow, that jumps out at you.
He's going to be a fun kid to see where he's at when he's 21 years old after 3 years of college. That's not going to surprise me at all. If 3 years from today, we're looking at draft previews and whatnot to see his name being called for the MLB draft here, and when he's age appropriate after a couple of years of college baseball.
Yeah, I think he needs a little more physicality. He's tall, but I think a little more maturity in him physically. I think it'll be right there. Yeah, I like that. Outfielders, second team, seniors, John Ludwig out of Staley, Colton Wemhoff, Rockhurst, and Corey. I believe that would be Chosner. Does that sound right, Kevin?
Yes.
Very good. Hickman High School. And the junior Ian Kamstra out of Grain Valley. And our honorable mentions, a couple of underclassmen, the junior Kenton Unruh from Staley, the sophomore Will Kimmis. Sorry if I'm butchering that, folks.
Will Kimes.
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 Thank you, Kevin. I know. Hey, sometimes the schooling doesn't all come back. And am I supposed to pronounce that the long I or the short I?
Well, Will Kimes led Columbia Rockbridge in hitting, so we'll him a little bone here. He had a big year, and Rockbridge was a top 5 team in the state, and obviously had a huge season, and they won't be going anywhere. They'll be back next year.
And then finishing this out, the senior Chase Luttrell out of Liberty, Kansas City, and senior Aiden Dole, Blue Springs South. Blue Springs South is graduating some dudes, so that'll be interesting to see, right?
They're losing some good ones, for
yes.
Sure. For certain.
Oh, sorry, folks. I thought I had it turned off, but I didn't. There we go. Sorry. All right. DH Utility, here we are. And it doesn't surprise me to see some of these names after, the explanation here, Kevin, with these 4 seniors on this first team. Go ahead.
Yeah, Caden Bogenpool, huge two-way talent out of Jackson, left-handed bat. Some of the most, him and Norfleet, I would say, had the most raw power in the state, and both are similar type guys. Low 90s, 93. Bogenpool up to 95. He is on some draft radars. Committed to Missouri State. It could go either way, whether he ends up on campus or if he gets his name called here in a couple weeks. Braden Hemmer had a heck of a season for Hickman. Third baseman, right-handed pitcher, heading to Jeffco, super talented bat, also really tough on the mound. Ty Wisdom closed out the state championship, heading to Kansas. He'll be heading to Kansas as a positional player at second base, could really hit, but did a great job out of the bullpen for Liberty North. That's how they used him mostly. They'd bring him in to close games out, and kind of a fearless, kind of glue guy, team guy, huge piece of that Liberty North team. So excited to watch him over at Kansas. And then Gavin Beckner out of Republic. So really strong utility team there. And we talked about how, having those type of guys on your team, it's like having 2 all-state players, because these guys are creating an impact on all sides of the ball here.
A couple of guys here, second team, Ryan McDonald, Tommy Lepore. Those 2 guys, we saw Ryan McDonald pitch in our Friday Night Lights game against the new school, North Point. There it is.
This is catching me off guard. The fact that Tommy Lepore's a second teamer, wow, that talks to the depth. I would have had him as a slam dunk first teamer. I'm not calling into question any of the voting at all. It just talks about the depth of everything. Tommy, big fella that was a huge piece of the Blue Springs team and runs his fastball up to 96 and hitting the middle of the lineup there. So wow, this is a deep group.
It is. It is. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about Owen Weiss. I do, like I said, Ryan McDonald, who threw a no-hitter at the end of the season for Troy. I'm trying to remember. I know he's committed, and I can't remember where it is. That's the terrible thing. I'll have to look that up. But two-way guy, his bat worked well. He was hitting 3 in that batting order for Troy, and really, I think that's a kid. He's physical. I think that's a kid that in a couple years, it's one of those. It'll be interesting to see because I think he's going JUCO to begin with, and from what I recall, but I think Kevin's looking it up.
Are we talking about McDonald?
Yeah.
I believe he's going to St. Charles.
Yes, correct. That's what it was. I couldn't remember if it was State Fair or St. Charles, and I didn't want to say because I knew it. Okay. I think it started with an S, but I think it is St. Charles, correct. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out of that long term for him. It's interesting, to see. But I think you're right. The one name that sticks out here, you have Owen Wise from Rockbridge there. Tommy Lepore sitting there in the second team. I was just shocked myself when I first saw this. I was like, how did that happen? But there you go. Honorable mention, some other good names here. 2 seniors. Of course, we know Caleb Miller, he's a fire plug kind of guy. Francis Howell, Avery Garman, Grain Valley, and then a couple of juniors. Jackson was at Glick,
yep.
Glick from Staley, and Cole Young, Liberty North. Some good names. There's some really good talent up and down. When you're looking at this Class 6, as we've talked about this, Kevin, from first team to honorable mention, I mean, there's just so much talent in that pool. It's amazing.
It's fun to look at a list like this, and I already knew this, but you talk about the depth and the talent in our state, and this really shows it off when you put together the who's who or the top guys. We can put together a really impressive list for the state of Missouri, which is speaks to the strength of the baseball we're playing in the state. It
really does, and this is a great list. Congrats to all these players. We don't have a lot of time to get into 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully in the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully in the future, that's one of our goals, to add shows to what we're doing here, to give a little more time to something. Because in the Class 4, there's some dudes in that Class 4 that are really, really good. Just here, I know Brennan Goring from St. Charles. I believe he was first team, and he dealt with some injuries. St. Charles West, I should say. Excuse me. Can't say that. So just name that popped in my head. And so there's a lot of Class 4 kids, a lot of good Class 4 schools. We saw the Class 4 championship game down there, which was really, really good. And some really good baseball played. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that. But Kevin, last thoughts?
No, hey, fun way to wrap up the spring season. It feels like yesterday we were previewing, this year, the 23 season. And wow, it didn't disappoint. Had a lot of fun covering the games, and, state tournament is always a blast, and it didn't disappoint. And I think they've got it nailed. They do a really good job with the state championship and a lot of good players. And it was a fun season. And you know what? I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah, kudos to Doug Fessler, right?
Yes,
Really.
absolutely.
When we first had Doug on the show, he'd taken over. That last one, we were kind of like, ugh, this is bad. And but Doug has went from the time he took over, he's done a great job. Came over and spoke with us that first day we were there on that Thursday. Came over and got on the podcast. He's never afraid to answer questions. I love that, man. That shows you he's really confident in what he believes he's doing and how he's going about doing it, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah, so kudos to Doug Fessler and Misha there for the job they did this past weekend. So, or not past weekend, few past weekends. It's been a few of them. We're still in June though, at least. So appreciate all the coaches for allowing us or for coming on and talking with us in our makeshift studio there at the stadium and for the podcast. And then after the games, allowing us to talk to them. We appreciate it very much. Appreciate it. And Ryan Stegel for coming on, or is it Stiegel, right?
Ryan Stiegel.
For coming on after that. Hopefully we'll get some of these coaches through the winter, be able to chat it up a little bit, and we'll head toward our previews. We'll just do it all again, Kevin.
Be here before you know it.
Exactly. So, hey, folks, it's a good follow. Make sure you're following Kevin on Twitter or Instagram at PBR Missouri or at PBR_Moulder. Follow. Great follows there. You'll see what's going on around the state and around, got the future games coming up. So make sure you're following Kevin on social media. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Again, while you're here, hit that subscribe button. Hit the dinger right there, because we need guys to hit doubles and dingers. Right, Kevin?
That's right.
So all you pitchers, what are pitchers? Good advice for the pitchers, Kevin.
Keep throwing strikes.
Exactly. Hitters, hit a couple of dingers, hit a couple of doubles, and you'll be in good shape. And we'll see y'all next time.